RPGs love telling us that our choices matter, but in most cases, they really don't. Sure, your decisions might change a line of dialogue here or there, but they rarely impact the story in any meaningful way. You usually aren't locked into an ending based on your actions, and no matter what choices you make, the outcome tends to stay roughly the same. But Mass Effect 2 is different, because while your decisions might not drastically change the overall story, they determine something far more important. They decide who lives and who dies. And by the end of the game, it's possible for your entire squad to be wiped out. In fact, it's even possible for Shepard themselves to die. And what makes this system so brilliant is that the game never tells you exactly how to prevent it. Instead, it quietly tracks almost everything you do. Most RPGs only give us the illusion of choice. We can shape our character along the way, choosing different dialogue options or moral paths, but those choices rarely have any lasting consequences. The endings for these games usually come down to a few final decisions that override everything that came before. In some ways, this makes sense. RPGs are built around player freedom. You can spend the entire game being a complete monster and then suddenly decide to make a heroic sacrifice at the end. That flexibility is part of the role-playing experience. But it also creates a problem, because if your actions don't carry any consequences, then the choices themselves start to feel meaningless. After all, if nothing changes based on what you did, what was the point of making those choices in the first place? Very few RPGs actually commit to making your decisions matter, but Mass Effect 2 does. From the very beginning, Mass Effect 2 makes the stakes clear. Your mission is to assemble a team capable of stopping the Collectors before they abduct more human colonies. But the game doesn't pretend that this will be easy. Nearly everyone you speak to warns you about the same thing. The Omega 4 relay is a one-way trip. If you aren't prepared, you're not going to have a good time. And this is where Mass Effect 2 quietly begins building its choice system. Throughout the game, it keeps track of everything you do, whether you upgrade the Normandy, complete loyalty missions, or even how you resolve conflicts between your crew. All of it matters because every one of those decisions will eventually determine who survives the final mission. Each squad member you recruit comes with their own problems, and eventually they'll ask Shepard for help dealing with them. These are called loyalty missions, and while they aren't technically mandatory, ignoring them can have serious consequences later. Completing these missions ensures the loyalty of your squad mates, and if a squad mate isn't loyal when the final mission begins, their chances of surviving drop dramatically. But what makes these missions special isn't just their gameplay impact, it's what they reveal about the characters. We learn that Garrus became a vigilante on Omega and had his group of friends all killed by betrayal. Mordin wrestles with his role in creating the genophage and later perfecting it, and Tali discovers that her father's experiments with the Geth caused a deadly outbreak aboard his ship. Just to name a few examples. These missions give us something incredibly important: time with the crew. We learn who they are, what they regret, and what they're fighting for. And by the time the final mission arrives, these characters don't just feel like party members, they feel like friends. But completing loyalty missions is only a part of the system, because how you handle them matters just as much. If you ignore what a squad mate wants, or fail certain dialogue checks, their loyalty can be lost. Take Tali's loyalty mission for example. After discovering what her father did with the Geth, you have a choice. You can reveal the evidence to the Admiralty Board, clearing Tali's name, or you can protect his legacy and allow Tali to take the blame. If you don't have enough Paragon or Renegade points to carefully navigate this situation, you're forced to choose, and that decision can come back to haunt you during the suicide mission. Then there's the Normandy itself. Throughout the game, you can gather resources and invest them into upgrading the ship, but if you ignore these upgrades, the consequences are brutal. During the suicide mission, the Normandy comes under attack, and without the proper upgrades, squad mates start dying before you can even reach the Collector base. And all of these decisions slowly build towards one single moment, a mission that Mass Effect 2 spends the entire game preparing you for: the suicide mission. This is where everything you've done up to this point finally gets tested, because now you need to assign your crew specific roles. Someone must be the tech specialist, someone must lead a secondary fire team, and someone needs to maintain a powerful biotic barrier. And even if everyone is loyal, assigning the wrong person to the wrong job can still get them killed. Send someone inexperienced to lead a team and people die. Choose the wrong specialist for a task and they will not make it back. Mass Effect 2 doesn't just pretend your choices matter, it forces you to prove you are paying attention. And if you fail badly enough, you can lose your entire squad. Even Shepard can die. And unlike many games that undo player mistakes, Mass Effect doesn't reverse these outcomes later. If someone dies in Mass Effect 2, they stay dead, which means they simply don't appear in Mass Effect 3. Entire character arcs can disappear because of the decisions you made. Very few RPGs are willing to punish the player like this. Most studios avoid mechanics where players are directly accountable for major story outcomes, because if a character permanently dies because of something the player did wrong, that often leads to frustration, and that frustration can become a real problem for developers. A lot of players want their choices to lead to a satisfying or even happy ending. If a game allows those choices to backfire in a major way, some players will feel like they were punished for simply playing the game. So many studios avoid taking this risk entirely. Instead, they design systems where choices appear meaningful, but rarely lead to consequences that permanently damage the story. These systems from a development standpoint is also incredibly complicated. Every possible death has to be accounted for in future content, which means writing alternate scenes, recording additional dialogue, and building storylines that still work even if the major characters are gone. And when you're building a trilogy like Mass Effect, that complexity multiplies quickly. It's far easier for developers to give players the illusion of choice than to design a system where those choices truly reshape the story, which is exactly why what Mass Effect 2 accomplishes is so impressive. By the end of Mass Effect 2, you've spent the entire game building this team, learning their stories, helping them overcome their past, and earning their loyalty. So if you make a mistake and one of them dies, it doesn't feel like you lost a character, it feels like you lost a friend. And knowing that it was your fault makes that moment hit even harder. Mass Effect 2 just doesn't tell you that your choices matter, it actually proves it. Every decision you make can come back and bite you. The fate of your entire crew rests in your hands. And that's why more than a decade later, Mass Effect 2 still has one of the greatest choice-based systems ever created in an RPG. But if you like this kind of analysis, why not watch this video right here about how everyone remembers BioShock wrong, and consider subscribing. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.